What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe, and today we're going to be talking about the smoke ring. The smoke ring is that coveted indicator of a perfectly smoked piece of meat. We're going to be talking about some myths that surround the smoke ring and whether they're fact or fiction. So have you ever cut into a smoked piece of meat and you notice that pink layer just below the meat surface? Well, that's what we call the smoke ring. And it's an indicator that a piece of meat was smoked. But most people don't really understand what causes the smoke ring to form.
Shit, I don't even know. I can't even tell you that.
With a little bit of barbecue chemistry that involves myoglobin, nitric oxide, and carbon monoxide.
I can't even pronounce half this shit.
So myoglobin is to meat what hemoglobin is to blood. So hemoglobin is what causes our blood to be red, and myoglobin is what gives meat that pink or red color. And the journey to the perfect smoke ring really starts with the simple act of lighting the wood on fire. So once you have the wood ignited, it's going to produce a couple of gases. But the two most important gases when it comes to the formation of the smoke ring is going to be the nitric oxide and the carbon monoxide. As the wood smokes, the carbon monoxide and nitric oxide makes its way out of the firebox and through the cooking chamber, and it mingles with the myoglobin, and that's where the party starts. This interaction between these three components is what preserves that pink color that we call the smoke ring. And now you can take a photo or video so all your friends and family know that you're the pit master of the family.
Wow.
That's crazy. When we talk about getting the perfect smoke ring, we're really talking about harnessing chemistry to really elevate the appearance of a piece of meat. And it's really a testament to that intricate dance.
Dance with me. Dance the dance of life.
Between myoglobin, nitric oxide, and carbon monoxide. So now that we understand the science behind the smoke ring, let's talk about the two myths that we plan to either verify or debunk today. Myth number one involves placing a cold piece of meat on the smoker. There are pit masters that believe that this creates a more prominent smoke ring. The myth really hinges on the idea that placing a cold piece of meat on the smoker allows the nitric oxide and carbon monoxide more time to mingle with the myoglobin. And this, in return, creates a more prominent smoke ring. Because myoglobin will actually stay pink up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, after which it is going to turn brown. So there is some science that backs up this myth. So myth number two centers around the practice of spritzing a piece of meat. This means throughout the smoking process, you'll spritz it with either water or apple cider vinegar. Advocates of this myth believe that adding moisture to the meat's surface allows the smoke to be attracted more to the meat, which will enhance the reaction between the myoglobin, nitric oxide, and carbon monoxide. Also, adding moisture to the piece of meat throughout the cooking process lowers the meat's surface temperature, which has a similar effect as the first myth, keeping that meat's surface temperature below 140 for a longer period of time. So let's talk about the experiment. I'm going to have 3 chuck roasts, all prepared the exact same way, salt and pepper. So the first chuck roast is going to go on at room temperature, and it's going to be our baseline for comparison. The second chuck roast, we're testing the code theory, and that's why you only see 2 here now, because it's currently still in the refrigerator. I plan to put it on the smoker straight out of the refrigerator. And with the third chuck roast, we're going to be putting it on at room temperature, and we're going to be spritzing it, testing if adding moisture actually enhances the smoke ring. But we're not going to start spritzing it until it's been on the smoker for about an hour, and then we're going to spritz it every 30 to 60 minutes. Each chuck roast is going to be smoked identically the same way. It's going to have the same wood. We're using oak and cherry. It's going to be smoked at the exact same temperatures, and they're going to be smoked on my Old Country Brazos offset. It's 1/4-inch steel. It should offer the perfect environment for these chuck roasts to get a prominent smoke ring and for us to test these theories. So the goal of the experiment is to really observe how the variables affected the smoke ring. And the way we'll do this is we'll measure the thickness and the density of the smoke ring of each piece of meat. We'll also be taste testing to see if there's any indicator that the smoke ring is more prominent in each variable. So I've got my smoker up to temperature. I'm gonna go get the third chuck roast out of the refrigerator, and we're gonna throw it on the smoker. All right, we have our control here. We're gonna place it more towards the back here. We got the code method. We're gonna place it in the middle here. And then we have the spritzing, and we're gonna place it in the front just so that the spritzing method doesn't affect the back pieces. And when we spritz that, we'll actually block that off with something while I spritz it. Yeah, let's go. All right, we're going to spritz the front one here. They've been on about an hour. All right. Yeah, we'll just keep spritzing every 30 to 60 minutes. All right. So it's been about another 30 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and spritz this again. All right, it's been another 30 minutes. We're probably looking at about 2 hours total. I'm not even worried about checking internal temperature yet. We're just gonna keep letting the smoke roll. We'll be back. All right, so they've been on here about 2.5 hours. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and spritz this one again. I'm looking at removing these around 190, 195. I don't want them to pull apart. I need them to slice so that we can observe the smoke ring. I'm also going to move these around a little bit just to make sure they're getting consistent heat throughout. That one's not getting overcooked. And I would say we probably got an hour, hour and a half left. So I'm noticing that all 3 pieces of meat are getting really nice cherry mahogany colors. That means that that chemical reaction between the myoglobin, nitric oxide, and the carbon monoxide is happening. So that's always exciting to see. I have been fighting the wind today.
It's awfully windy, so maybe you can't barbecue tonight at home, so you come out to Famous Dave's.
Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
It's probably about 15 miles per hour today. So I've really had to diligently manage the fire today. So it is what it is, but we're getting really close. We probably have another hour, hour and a half left. All right, so they've been on here about 4.5 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and check the temperature. On the control, we have about 175. This is the spritzing method. We're about 187. And then this is the code method. And we're about 166 on that one. This one can go ahead and come off. I'm gonna tint it with some foil and let that one rest. That one will probably cook up to about 195. It'll be perfect for slicing. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna let them keep rolling. I'm gonna take this one off, tint it with foil, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's check the temperature here. Oh yeah, this one's ready to come off. And this one, I think it's about ready to come off too. It's at 185. We'll go ahead and take it off. We'll let it rest and it'll come up to about 190. It'll be perfect for slicing. All right, let's get it. All right, so that took roughly about 5 hours to smoke these. The spritzing method actually got done quicker. It is a little bit smaller piece of meat, but I think that played a pretty big factor in having it done earlier. It was probably done about an hour sooner than the other two. So we've let these rest. They've rested for about 30 minutes. So we smoked these at about 250 to 275 for 90% of the cook. Once I took the spritzing method off, I cranked it up to about 300 so we could finish these off a little bit quicker. Sorry if the audio's bad. The wind is insane today.
The freak wind also plays havoc.
So a couple things I noticed throughout the cooking process. The code method wasn't that far behind as far as internal temperature when cooking. That was pretty surprising to me because I expected it to be at least 30 degrees behind the room temperature method. So initially looking at the exterior of the meat, I don't see much of a difference. Let's cut into these and we're gonna see. From left to right here, we have the control method, we have the code method, and then we have the spritzing method. I wanna start with the control method. So initially looking at it, it has a really great smoke ring. I can tell it took on a lot of smoke, and I think it's gonna taste great. Let's move to the code method. I do see a more prominent smoke ring. It's much more dense. We're gonna see how it tastes though. Now, let's cut the spritzing method. All right, so from initially looking at these, I'm seeing a much better smoke ring, more dense, not necessarily thicker, but definitely more dense on the code method. Then I would say the spritzing method definitely has more of a smoke ring than the control method, but it's not as dense as the code method. All right, so let's taste the differences. We're gonna try the control variable first. It's delicious. So that's our baseline. is the code method. I do notice a little bit more smoke flavor with the code method. I really do. Let's try the spritzing method. So spritzing method tastes very similar to the control method. Code method definitely has a little bit more smoke flavor. Very minuscule though, like it's not a massive difference. Like if you don't want to set your meat out at room temperature and you just want to leave it in the refrigerator, it might help with the smoke ring. There is more density in this one. I would say spritzing doesn't really make a big difference. I would say code method makes a small difference. So I guess verified, try it yourself, see what you think. But if you enjoy my videos, go ahead and like, subscribe to the channel, and turn those notifications on. Beautiful. Big piece of fucking fat. We'll be talking to smoke, and today we're gonna be talking about the fucking wind is crazy, dude.